All right, welcome to Beyond the Blueprint. We are very excited about today. Today we have a great episode on our Path to Homeownership series, and we're just going to keep continuing this. And today I have my co-hosts Fred Bowman, Mark Jackson here. Say hi to everybody. And I'm Matt Sochi, and we are going to talk about different programs out there today for first-time home buyers, and I think it's really exciting. So if you missed our previous episodes so far, we talked about the home buying experience, how to get pre-approved. We talked about working with the right realtor. We talked about home inspections. That was a great episode of Joe did a great job, Joe Nugent, and how important those are. But now it's really time to get into the nitty-gritty. So what we want to do is we want to talk about all the different programs out there, because we get asked a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we do. We take all your information, figure out what's going to work for you, and then, if there's things we need to work on, we're going to find out the program that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I look a lot on social media. Obviously, I live on there for work and stuff, and a lot of things that I see, and Mark, I've seen you've been posting too, is like, if you're a first-time home buyer, we have options for you. And it seems like that's kind of the target that everyone's going for from the real estate side and the mortgage side, is all the different programs out there, and there's so many of them. It's almost like, whoa, overwhelming, Yeah. So what we want to do today is we want to just dial it into some of the really good ones, the really important ones out there. We have some exciting news too, with one that is launching in July and coming back, and just some of the ones that we have for everybody out there. So let's kick it off.
I think the main thing that you want to start with, especially when we're talking about these programs, is what is a first-time home buyer? A lot of people assume that means you have never owned a home. And in reality, just so we know, it's as long as you haven't owned a home in at least 3 years.
Right. So a lot of people think, like, if you own a current home and then you want to buy another one, that, with certain programs, you are a first-time home buyer, again, like on the conventional stuff. But some people think if they bought a house, 10 years ago? Yep. That they are no longer a first-time home buyer. If they have not owned a home in the last 3 years, they are. Yeah. So that kind of resets your clock. In our world, is that with home ownership, if you haven't owned a home and you've been renting or living rent-free for the last 3 years, you do qualify for these programs again.
Yeah, I shared that on my Facebook page, and there were even realtors who were surprised and saying, wow, that's good information. I never realized it was a 3-year reset. So I think not that many people know about it.
I think if we asked 100 people in a room, I would say probably about 25% actually know that. So it's a good fact. Well, let's get the big program out there. So last year they announced a cool program called the Hometown Heroes. And just for everybody out there, this is a Florida-based program. So the Hometown Heroes started off, with first responders.
Yep, it was for, the police officers, the nurses. It was kind of like a thank you program from Florida to help them become homeowners, make it easier for them with their down payment,
right,
and closing costs.
And then it started off where they would get a 5% grant, right? Mm-hmm. So a deferred mortgage for 30 years, or up to $25,000.
Correct.
Then funds ran out because it was so popular. They brought it back with additional funds, and then still did the 5%, but they added another $10,000.
They went to $35,000 max, correct.
So think about that out there. If you're out there in the market and you think, if you had $35,000, do you think that would help, Mark?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't have the $35,000 to start out with. So this is amazing, actually.
Yeah, and especially in this market.
And Matt, let's go back to that. We started with the Hometown Heroes is for nurses, police officers. That's no longer the case.
Correct.
You can be in any profession as long as you are working full-time for a Florida-based company, like a brick and mortar in Florida. And you do not have to be in the hero type of profession as a police or a nurse or anything like that anymore. So that's huge. That means pretty much everybody qualifies as long as you work in Florida.
Yeah, and I'm working with a teacher right now who is considered that program. So, like I said, it is expanded out past just first responders and the like. So maybe you're a hometown hero and don't even realize it.
Yeah, I mean, they should probably change the name.
Yes.
To the Florida Ultimate Program. And so that's a good point. So yeah, so now no longer you have to be a hero, because there was a list of, 80 different occupations or whatnot. And then you had to be a part of a different occupation in some cases. So the nice thing now is that it is opened up to all first-time homebuyers as long as you are a full-time employee. Yep. Which is great. So that opens up a huge opportunity for everybody out there who's looking to buy. And I know we were talking before this, just a quick short story. I had a friend of mine who was moving out to Babcock Ranch. And of course, all the new builders, they want to use their preferred lender. And that'll be a whole other episode. But anyways, they were offering all these incentives, and he reached out to me because he saw one of my posts on social media, and he said, "What's this 5%, $35,000?" I was like, "Dude, you qualify for this." So you have, the nice thing too with Hometown Heroes is a higher income limit as well. So that definitely helps when you have, and it goes off household income, who's going to be living at the house. But the moral of the story is, they were offering $15,000. I was able to offer $35,000, just based off the loan amount and everything else. So the nice thing is, not only did we get all the closing costs covered, the down payment covered, but we also got extra money that we used to buy down the loan amount. Yeah. And it was a win-win. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And not to mention, the rates on these are typically lower than if you had your own funds, which is really good. So, there's a lot of people out there always looking at new construction, but the biggest thing is that we have other opportunities to offer people. Being a brokerage, a wholesale broker, is that we have tons of options. So I thought that was just something fun to share.
Well, one thing too, I guess, so when we're talking about these down payment assistance programs, I would say that when I get most of my clients, the hardest part is where are they coming up with their funds to close on this house?
Right.
FHA requires 3.5% down. Closing costs are probably around the same amount, 3.5%. So you need 7%, on a good estimate to close on a house. So, this 5% of it already coming is,
you're only asking for a little bit. Correct. If needed. I mean, most of these programs, I'll be honest with you, they usually have too much credits. Mm-hmm. So the good news is you could literally buy a house for the cost of an inspection and an appraisal.
Correct.
It's just phenomenal. So it gives everybody the opportunity to own a home. And just wanted to throw that program out there. So the good news is that now we can start working on the pre-approvals. Tiffany have already given out a few pre-approvals that are for the Hometown Heroes. So as long as we can structure with our realtor partners out there, the different, what the availability is, which we don't know the date yet, but as long as we have a closing set out sometime in July, we should be able to lock it, reserve it, close it.
And why are you pre-approving people now in May and April per se? Why can't we do Hometown Heroes this month?
Why can't we do it this month? Because it's not available.
Correct. The funds aren't in there yet. So, currently the program itself has no funds to offer. But starting July 1st is what we're being told that they're going to be refunding the program with, is it $100 million? Is that
per se? Yeah.
Okay, something in there, which, the main reason you want to get pre-approved now versus waiting for July is these funds go fast. You can't just assume that they're going to be here for 4 or 5 months, and then that's when you're going to get ready. So you want to be ready to go once the funds come in, and be ready to make this happen. Because again, that's a lot of money, but this program does not last. We've seen it come, and shortly after, whatever few months into it, the funds kind of dwindle away, and then we don't have the ability to do that until something falls through or we get more.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that, if you look in the market, and that's not just Florida, but across the United States, days on market is approaching 60, 90, 120 days. So imagine if you find a great opportunity, you're pre-approved, and you find an opportunity of a house that's been on the market for 180 days, which is half a year. This is a great opportunity. Hey, let's get you under contract. Let's post out the closing. We could work on things with our preferred lenders that do them. And just for everybody out there, not every person can do these. It's only certain brokerages and lenders that are actually approved with the state of Florida to do these, and we are one of them. So make sure, noted out there, that you understand that. But it's good to do it now, because you have opportunities to get a deal maybe at a better price, today.
Seller concessions.
If needed, so That's a good one. So that's probably my favorite program. Now that it hasn't been available for the last 4 months or so, but we do have a Florida bond program. So that's another one where you get $10,000 towards your down payment as well.
On that one, the Florida bond is at 10,000 flat. There's no 5%
Right.
or 3%. So I mean, if you're buying a $200,000 house, you're still getting 10,000 instead of whatever. Well, I guess that would have been 10,000 anyways. But it's a flat amount, and it's got all the same eligibilities as the Hometown Heroes, pretty much.
Yep.
But that program stays funded throughout the year. We haven't seen it where it's gone out of funds, so that's one that's always available. So if you need to buy a house today and we can't wait till after July, we have a program that will do $10,000 towards your
and you could do a
costs and down
conventional
payment.
as well. So,
Yes.
On both of them. So if you have a condo situation, which you have to go conventional almost 100% of the time, that one is available for it too. So that's just the two with the state of Florida that are the most easy. I mean, there's different programs in counties and stuff like that. Those become very difficult because they're usually for super low income, and then you don't qualify for the house. So be wary of those out there because some of them say, oh, we're offering $100,000. Well, that's based off what you're approved for. And if you're only approved for $200,000, there's a scale there. So, so it's important to understand there's a lot of information out on the internet, but a lot of it I find to be inaccurate or misleading. I'm not saying bait and switch, but it's kind of bait and switch.
It's you most of those that offer, especially I think there's one for 75K here in our county, but the debt to income is so low that the house you can afford is you can't even find a house.
You can't find a house
price range. So yeah, sure, they'll give you money towards it, but there's no houses for you to buy. So what good is this program? And then if you make too much money, which is not even a lot, then you just don't qualify.
Well, that's a good point. So the too much money. So I ran into this on the Florida bond where, self-employed buyer, and then all of a sudden I do my job. I do the last 2 years of tax returns, average it out, and then we get a profit and loss statement, and their business is so booming that it disqualified. It's too much income. However, that alludes to the other program we have, which is zero down FHA. Mm-hmm. So the cool thing about this one is you don't have to be a first-time home buyer on this one, which is awesome. On the zero down. It is a second mortgage over 10 years, 2% higher than your first or your locked rate. So yeah, you might inquire or have $100 to $200 whatever payment higher per month. But the cool thing is it also de-amortizes, which means each month, whatever you borrowed on that 3.5% down goes down each month on a sliding scale. So after 10 years, it's gone. On the other programs, that money is due when you refinance or sell. So fun fact, I did not realize this because these programs are newer and we haven't been in a refi boom, but if you have enough equity in the home when it comes time to refinance, you don't have to do a cash out refi. You can do a rate and term as long as you have enough equity and get it paid off. So that's a great news. You don't have to wait, years for that to build up. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, the zero down is great for those higher income because there are no income limits. Correct. So you can make $250,000 a year. God bless your heart. I hope you have 3.5% down. But if maybe you don't because you're building your business and have a lot of expenses, that this program is a great program for you. And it also runs off the normal FHA findings. So we don't have to worry about being at certain thresholds. If it's approve eligible, you're getting the, approval through the lender. So
it's not going through the state of Florida and their eligibilities on top of the FHA. So that's really good.
What are some things like, Fred, for you, like when you're talking to clients, what are they saying? Are they asking like, hey, what kind of programs you have? Or are you mostly seeing out there people that have saved over time and ready to go?
Most people don't have enough. They have some savings, but they don't have enough to really be able to go out and make that purchase, as soon as they get, start looking. So these programs are kind of that bridge of, hey, if we can qualify for this program, we can start today versus having to maybe wait 6 months of saving, $1,000 a month till they have 15,000, 20,000, whatever it is they need. It's such a great program because there's really no restrictions other than you need to be a first-time home buyer and you're
640 credit
and you
score
work in
usually.
Florida. Yeah, 640 credit score, which is not bad.
Yeah.
So
fair.
it's a program that actually works and you can actually qualify for. Because there's so many out there, again, that say they'll give you all this money, but in the end, you don't qualify.
Well, some of them you have to actually like take a Saturday and go to an 8-hour class just to get kind of in the door, and then you still have to go through this whole process. I know Phil, one of our loan originators here, he goes, Matt, it was a SHIP program, and he goes, it was the biggest nightmare in the world. Not on our side. He's like, our side was done quick, but the second getting it from the county, they're on their own, clock in at 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock lunch, 4, they're not there. Like, so the cool thing with our programs, it's all built in with our same lenders. So you don't have to worry about other moving parts. Yeah. You have to take a little class online. It's easy.
It's 3 hours.
And that goes for any product that's a first time home buyer, where you're getting, special things, so like a really popular one that I do a lot, is the Home Ready Home Possible.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, so there's conventional loans, and then there's two different types. There's a Fannie Mae and a Freddie Mac, and they have different guidelines, right?
Yeah. And those are great because they let you do a conventional loan without all the extra fees that usually get tacked on.
Some of them give you credits too.
Yeah, exactly. Some credits and so on. So you're getting lower private mortgage insurance. You're getting usually a little better interest rate than you would if you weren't.
Well, check this
eligible
out.
For that.
I put one in the other day, 680 credit score. They made 80% of the. So how it works is on a Home Ready Home Possible, you have to make 80% of the average median income for where the house is going to be. So, for example, Naples is close to 80,000. It's around there.
100,000 is the 100%. So
if you make 80, it's around there. So what they do is it's literally you get 1 percentage point off. Basically the rate. So instead of the rates being on a condo right now, upper 7s, I locked that in the 6s. He's like, how? Yeah. And that's no points, nothing. Yep. And you get a credit. I don't remember how much, but it's enough where it covers like the, little things.
Yep.
So you get the extra credits too. Or if you have the other route, which is the 1+ program, which is exclusive with one of our lenders. Not everybody offers this, but the 1+ is what?
Well, that
1%.
1%. And then the lender's actually giving you the grant for the 2%. So you're putting down the 3% down payment on a conventional loan.
Forgivable.
Yes. That you don't have to pay back.
Yeah.
Which is
so
wonderful.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay it back, which is awesome. So a lot of these programs, they all have different things. And that's why we come into play is, hey, which program is the best for you? I talked to somebody the other day and I was like, listen, you have enough for down payment and closing costs. You don't want to do these programs.
Yeah.
Maybe the conventional one, but you make too much. So, and the reason why is because obviously being in the market that we're in, it is definitely a buyer's market, a bazillion %. Well, bazillion. So that gives you the opportunity to what? Negotiate, get all the things. And then when you want to refi, because that time will come in that roller coaster wave, then what? Then you don't owe any money. It's super easy. You take advantage of the lower rate.
I've got a funny story on that. I had a client of mine who was purchasing a home and super well qualified. 20% down, 800+ credit score. Just awesome. Everything was great. But of course, you don't qualify for any of these down payment assistance programs because, make too much money. And they didn't need it. It wasn't that they were looking for it. But we went through and we found out that there's certain areas that if you live in, the government's just offering a grant to help people buy a house anywhere in the U.S. as long as you're currently living in certain areas. And it's mostly Miami, Tampa, Orlando, and some of the larger cities like Atlanta and so on.
So that's the affordable.
That's a Purchase Plus by Rocket.
Purchase Plus, but they also have it for affordable. They call it like affordable or underserved areas. That's
underserved. Yep. So it's a census tract, and as long as you and in Miami, it's pretty much all Miami except for like downtown Miami
because it's so expensive.
So as long as you're renting and you live in Miami, you can buy a house anywhere you'd like. It could still be Miami. And again, this well qualified client I had didn't need the money, but she got $5,300. I think it was $5,250.
Yep.
Of free money towards her down payment and $500 credit appraisal. And again, she didn't need
and lower rate.
Yes, it was. Just amazing. And all that happened is she lived in a specific area.
Yep.
that qualified her for this program.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these programs, they make me think of people, friends of ours who, maybe have gone through a divorce and they are on their own now and they're renting for a couple years, 2-3 years, and now they're first-time home buyers again because it resets. And a lot of times they're just rebuilding their financial life because they, maybe lost some money in the divorce or things didn't go amicably. So, I think these programs will be amazing. And with the divorce right now,
right,
and single parents being almost the norm, these programs are perfect for a lot of those people.
I talk to a lot of people that are in that same boat,
It's a shame, but it's reality.
It is reality, and you just got to be prepared. And you could do a podcast or a show every single day, and every single day we would have new information because things change all the time, every single day. But those are the programs that we have. I mean, talking about a couple different things is if you're still looking out there, it's really, really important to understand, where you stand, understand where you stand. And I say that because, you might not think right now, today, you're ready, but in a flip of a moment, it could be 2 weeks from now. You're like, the wife's like, oh, we need to go move, or the landlord's like, we're selling the house. So I would always say is always talk to a loan originator. I would prefer, to talk to a loan originator versus a bank. So our team here, Fred, Mark, myself, our whole team at Premier Mortgage, like we are here to help, and it's a friendly conversation. That's why we created the Path to Homeownership. Yeah. And actually the conversations I have are usually the first steps, which are the Path to Homeownership. And we talk about these things and get to know you. It's not about fill out an app and pull credit and all that stuff. Like we want to help you so you're ready when the time comes, especially on these programs that are kind of future dated.
And to piggyback off of that, a lot of people assume that they should start their pre-approval process when they're ready to look.
Or when they get a contract.
Yeah, well, that's the worst. But, the pre-approval process is just to make sure you're on the right path. And, if there's something we have to work on, if you start at 4 months early and we pull credit and we find out, hey, credit's not where we want it to be, we do free credit repair.
Yeah.
We do, we have a credit simulation. They tell us what you need to pay, how to pay it, and we'll get your credit up, if we have the time to do it, and things like that. We will help you. We don't need to do a pre-approval and get you in a home the next week, or we're not going to help you. I mean, I've got people I've helped for a year on, just kind of following with them until they were ready to go.
And then how much easier is it when you have them ready and then they do go through the process and are working with a preferred realtor that's amazing? What is it like?
It's amazing because there are no issues.
Zero.
Everything just goes smooth. You close. We close early.
And you're best friends at this point because you've been working together for a year.
And it makes you feel amazing that you were able to help somebody who started out with not being able to afford a home. And, usually I would say within 3 to 4 months, if somebody's in that situation and they're willing to,
they're motivated,
make the change and motivated, we'll get them in a house.
For sure.
They just need to know what to do and what the game plan is, and we'll set them on their way.
Yeah. I would say another thing too, is if you're out there looking, talking to one of us would be beneficial because a lot of people think, oh, I make $50,000 a year, I could buy a house. And, it's tough these days. So it's good for us to set up a game plan. Maybe it's not one of these products, but if you only make $50,000 a year and you have family members, we could do non-owner occupied co-borrowers. We also can help you with a lot of people to know if you have a good 401k, you could use that for a down payment on a home as well. So there's a bazillion options for you. But we really wanted to tackle the different programs out there because there's a lot of people, pushing this out there. We push it out there. I push it out there. We all push it out there. And I think it's valuable, just the tidbits we talked about today, and on what you need to expect during that process. So we always welcome everybody to always reach out. It could be a phone call, email, DM on any of the platforms, any way that you feel comfortable doing that. And if you're a realtor out there and you haven't connected with us, Premier Mortgage, I highly suggest you do, because I've personally, and I can only relate to myself on this, but I have talked to a bunch of new realtors over the last 30, 60 days, and they're blown away by all the things that we could do. And one of the biggest things that they said was, their person that they were used, or their brokerage told them they had to use, didn't have all the options. And when you start telling somebody, and Mark, how many lenders do we have?
50.
Oh, we've got one more. You're right. It was 49.
It was 49.
We just signed up with a couple more that have some really cool programs. So that's the thing is, like, when you're stuck with one option, you get one option. When you are a broker like us, you get now 50 options. There may be more coming. So that's what we're here to do and help.
Exactly it.
And I think, borrowers may think that going to a broker might be more expensive. And that may have been true years ago, but, we don't have to pay for a branch on every corner. We don't have to pay for all the background deposits and everything related to it. We're streamlined. We work with 50 different lenders. They give us preferred treatment a lot of times. So,
right.
We pass that along because we want to make
it's wholesale lending. So, it's not, we're actually getting
like, we don't charge processing fees. We don't charge all junk fees. And we get paid by the lender. So at the end of the day,
you're not paying us. There's no commitment to use us either. Yeah. A lot of people are like, oh, if I use you, it's like, no, if we got the best deal, which we're going to do, we're going to get you the best deal.
I don't think I've ever lost a deal except for I call it the basement mortgage people, but forgive me. Some people live in have basements as an office, but there are people out there that haven't done a loan in 2 years and they're like, oh, I'll just do it for free. But that's very far in between. We are professionals. This is our full-time job. So we're here to help. So great episode, guys. Thank you so much for the input and stuff like that.
Thank you.
So what we're gonna do next is the next episode we're gonna have our friend Austin with Goosehead Insurance. He's awesome, and we're gonna talk about insurance because, especially and specifically in Florida, there's a lot of noise with that, and it's a very, very important part of the home buying process because age of roof and different things that go in fact with that can bust a deal because of the debt to income ratio. So really good episode coming up with that, and we talked about a lot of good things. And I always say, like, make sure that if you're out there and somehow this crosses your airwaves, or you see it on Facebook, or you see it on Instagram or TikTok, feel free to reach out. We don't bite. We love to talk. We talk for a living. That's what we do. We talk for a living, and we never touch money, so you don't have to worry about that. And we're just here to help and support realtors, buyers, real estate agents, title companies, ourselves, everybody else out there in the sun of real estate. So thank you very much. So make sure, if you did like this episode, share it with a friend. That's what I say, share it with a friend.
Thank you for having us. It was great. And
we're looking forward to next week.
Yeah, I always learn something, so I'm sure you did too.
All right. As always, we say, we are
EMC.